Okay, let's begin. So, welcome again to the November 2024 upgrade, where we're going to talk about what's included in this upgrade. And as Sinead just said, I'm going to talk for about 20 minutes, and then we'll do question and answer. So you can just start typing your questions and answers in there, and we'll have lots of time at the end for anyone who wants to stick around and hear those answers. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to turn my video off as well. Perfect. So hopefully everyone can see my screen okay here. All right. Perfect. So everything we're going to talk about right now is on wiki.smartsimple.com. And if you just click on the upgrades, that'll bring you through to our upgrades page where we talk about what is in this upgrade, as well as any service packs that happen in between this upgrade and the next upgrade. So everything is itemized here. The thing to note is that our key release is going to be November 14th. And this upgrade has already been applied to your backups if you are on the key release. Key release, for those who don't know, is typically our shared servers in North America, whereas the global release is typically our managed dedicated and more of our international clients. So that one will be 2 weeks later, November 28th. But while I'm here talking about the upgrade schedule, I want you to note that in 2025, the upgrade months are going to change. So it's going to start in February, June, October, going forward. And it's going to be the second Thursday of those months. And then for the key release and the global release is 2 weeks after. So now it's going to be very consistent, always the second Thursday of February, June, and October for your key release. There is a short video here under 5 minutes, kind of gives you an overview. And this video, as well as this webinar, will be posted to our YouTube channel. I believe you will get an email. So if you can't stick around for the whole thing, it'll still be sent to you. You still can watch it. So I'm going to dive into the system now and start talking about the different changes. So the first thing I want to talk about is a rich text editor. So this is a rich text field I've got here, and this is the rich text editor. The rich text editor is going to change. In this release, it's optional. So you can turn it on and you can explore it, try it out, and let us know what your comments are. But in a future release, possibly February, we're going to turn this on for everyone. So we're really giving you a chance to kind of kick the tires and try this out. So the big difference between this one and the other one is that the buttons have changed. So everyone will get the same set of buttons up here. You can still do things like bolding and changing colors and putting bullets in there, making tables, that kind of thing. Also, it doesn't just affect this rich text editor field, it also affects other areas of the system. So for example, if I'm creating a new email here, so I can go in here and compose an email. So you can see here, I can either choose to enable the rich text editor or not. And again, I'll see that here. So there are some areas where, like creating emails, for example, and some configuration areas where you'll see the new rich text editor. Now, a lot of people will see this rich text editor here on their application. They're saying, wow, I really want all my applicants to be able to fill this in and format it instead of using a regular multi-line text field. And I just like to add a little bit of caution to that because this field, although it's really robust and allows your end users to format things, it's not suitable for putting in list views or exporting to PDF and things like that. So, and there's a bit of a performance as well. If you have a lot of these on the page, it can kind of affect performance. So just be judicious if you're going to start putting rich text fields into your applications. It is great that you can format it. Sometimes you need that for your scientific characters. But obviously the multi-line text field is a lot better for pulling that data out, reporting on it, that kind of thing. So then the next thing I want to talk about is this message down here. So we always had a display instructions field that would display a blue instructions box that you can put in there. We've updated this to allow you to style it better. So here I've got this message that I want to display to people, and I only want to display it in a specific scenario. So in this scenario, if someone is coming in and we owe them payments, I want them to go in and attest or verify that their address is up to date. I don't want our CRM data being out of date, so I don't want to send this payment off to the wrong address. So I'm going to display this message here, and then they can click a button and attest to it or update that. So the way I did this is if I come down here and I click on this warning message, you can see that it's actually called display message. So this used to be called the display instructions field. We've changed the name of it to display message now. Same field, but you have new options in it and a new name. So up here is where I put the title of warning, and then this is where I entered the content. And then this is the new part down here. So I can choose the styling of this message. So typically I would have done instructions, which is blue, which would be the default. But now I have all these options. So I don't have to write any HTML. I don't have to make a display text and variable field. I can just say, boom, I want a message to appear here. I want it to be a warning. And you can just go ahead and do that. Same with success, same with error. Now, in my scenario, I was talking about how I only wanted this to show at a specific time. So for example, here I wrote a visibility condition that's going to check my user status. So, if my user status is, have not attested to my address being correct this year, then I can check for that and show that message. So again, I kind of have a conditional visibility on this to show my message. I can style it the way I want. So again, that's a new change to this existing field that you might take good utility out of. Next, I want to show you are these buttons, which are new as well. So, you can always put inline buttons in your form to launch things, but these ones, instead of using the browser script field, we're using a brand new button called the special button. And what I'm doing here is my scenario where I wanted to get someone to attest that their organization address is correct. I'm giving them quick access to open up their organization. And I'm going to do it in a modal window this time. So again, really easy. I can come in here. I can change my address. I can save it. I can go back. And now maybe I can get my payment. So the way I did that, and I'll just show you. And if you have questions about any of these things, I can go more depth about it at the end. I'm just going to run through it, like I said, for about the first 20 minutes, and then we can dive back into any of your questions. So this is the new file. It's called a special button. And what I was showing you here is I can choose how I want to open it. So I can open it in the main window, so it replaces the content on my screen. I can open a modal window like I did, and that way I can make the change and I don't lose context. I don't navigate away really. I can just close that window and keep working. And I can open it in a new tab. And if you haven't seen the new tab, that's the tab bar down here, which I might talk about in a little bit. The second thing is I've called it what functionality I want. So in my scenario, I wanted them to edit their organization. You might go, well, how would I know what to enter in here for the URL? So I use the URL lookup. So in the URL lookup, I said, okay, I want to open up an organization information and I want to edit my organization. So as simple as that, I click that and apply, and that populates the link for me. But I can populate other links in here as well. I don't have to just do that one. So for example, in our last upgrade, we had activity scheduler or activity creator where I could make level 2s. I could launch that, or my payment scheduler, again, I could launch that. So I can launch all sorts of different aspects of the system through one of these buttons. So instead of navigating up into these menus, or instead of maybe navigating over here, I can start creating them with my own buttons in line. Now, if I wanted to open it in the main window instead of a modal window, I can also have this option where I can ask them to confirm before they navigate away. So for example, here, I've created a button that has a message that says, oh, it's going to navigate away. You're going to lose your context. Do you want to go ahead? In my case, no. So that's fine. And that, again, is on that same field. Now, I mentioned the tab bar. If you haven't seen the tab bar before, that's down here. I'll just quickly go over that again for the people. So you can launch this in the tab bar. The way the tab bar works is you open up a new tab here. And so in my first tab, I've got my level 1, which was an application. And maybe my second tab, I'm going to open up, let's say, review. So now I've got 2 tabs. First one's my application. The second one is my review associated with, we drill into it, associated with that application. And then I can use this button over here, multitask. And now I can see them both side by side. So again, I could open up my organization's address over here, for example, be editing it over here, save it, and then come back to here. And I can see it in split screen if I want, like this. So that's just in case you didn't know what the tab bar was. That's how that tab bar works. And this is a security feature you can, well, not security, it's a usability feature you can just turn on if you want by role. All right. One of the things you might notice as well is that I can color these buttons. So if I go back in here I'll look at the second button here. Because it's a warning message and I wanted it to relate to it, I colored those buttons so they really kind of stood out. So again, that's down here. We've already had that ability in some areas of the system. Now it's in this one, and it's also in the browser script field. You can now do that as well. So I can pick that. And the confirmation message I showed you a little earlier, that was the one where it said, hey, do I want to proceed or not? Yeah. So that's the buttons. The next thing I want to talk about is down here. And so here I've got a typical dropdown, but it's not typical in the way that it works. So in this dropdown, I'm pulling dynamic content from outside. So let's, in this scenario, I just said it's cars, but let's say you have some other data in a third-party system and you want to bring it in to populate this list. Maybe it's your jurisdictions, or maybe it's like course codes, or whatever it is you have from a third-party database. You want to pull that in and use that as your predefined options in this dropdown. You can do that using our custom lookup options in this dropdown. But there was a problem in that if I had predefined options in the field, I could use something like SS retire, which would allow me to save selections that have been made, but it wouldn't allow people to pick them and see them going forward unless they'd already selected them. So you couldn't do that with the custom lookup options. So in this release, we've added a new option when I'm importing that data, so I can mark things as inactive. It works the same way as SS retire does. So for example, I'll show you how this works. Hopefully I don't lose too many people on this one. So it's a select one drop-down list. And normally up here, you would say, here's my predefined options, option 1, semicolon, option 2, semicolon, option 3. But instead of doing that, I said, I'm going to enable dynamic content, and I'm going to use the custom lookup options. So that means I'm going to populate that data a different way. I'm not going to just hard code it in here on the field. So I'll duplicate this and show you how I set that up. So if I come in here to global settings, down here, custom lookup options, this is where I would define it. And so I would import here a CSV file that has all those predefined options I want to show. Now I've already done it for this example. And here you can see, so in my CSV, my first column was whether it was active or not. So if it's inactive, I put a 1 there, and then that tells me that I want to retain those selected values that people have made, but I don't want other people to be selecting going forward. And that's the new functionality here. Obviously, the other columns are the caption and its unique identifier. So that is the custom lookup and the way that you can have stuff show up. So you can retain the old values instead of just removing them from the imported CSV file. Next thing I'm just going to mention is the copy profiles. So depending on your user in the system, maybe I want to copy this grant again and make next year's grant, or maybe I want to copy, I don't know, the last site review and then modify it. I can set up what's called copy profiles here, and then I can just copy that. Now we've always been able to do that, and I can show, if people are interested, I can show you where that is later. But what we added now is the ability to specify more robustly the status. I used to specify the status either on the status, which is default, or it would take it from the record. Now, based on the copy profile, you can choose what status you want that to go into when I copy this. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is our list view searching. So we've actually done a number of performance improvements and some other optional things in here that you can do to kind of speed up when you have a large data set of records in your system. So one of the things that I wanted to highlight is that we've added the ability to hide the all columns. And why this is important is that, let's say I have 100,000 records in here and I want to search for records related to water, right? If I type water in and I have 100,000 records and let's say I have 10 columns, it's going to search 1 million cells for the word water. Whereas if I do application name and search, it's only going to search that application name column. So there's a really big 10 times, more than 10 times performance savings there by actually searching directly on the column that you want. And if you times that by all the concurrent users logged in, it can be substantial. So again, it's just a way you can speed that up if you're willing to do that, to take with all columns. I'll show you where that setting is. So under global settings, we've got system performance options here where you can now turn it on if you want. You say, I don't want to see the all columns. You can pick the single column. And what it's going to do is it'll automatically search the first column. Although in a future release, we plan to allow you to pick on a list view by list view basis which column to search. Something else that's here, while I'm here talking about performance, is the ability to only load records after a list view search, which is another way of saving time when you have a large set of records. So what that would do is, you can see when I came to this page in the UTA, it said loading, and it's going to load all my records in. And that's going to do that for every user. If you want, by turning that on, I can have it show basically not preload all those records. And then once you search, it just returns the records that you're searching for. So again, that's another option to speed up performance. Next thing I want to talk about is our multi-factor authentication. So if I come in here to global settings, security, and it's the password activation policies. So when I come down here, this is where I enable multi-factor authentication. So that what multi-factor authentication is it's instead of logging in with just your username and password, it's I have another code or another piece of information I have to enter as well. So here you turn it on, you specify which roles are going to have to add that extra piece of layer of authentication. So the first one here, the one-time password, that's really if I have an authentication app, be it Google or Microsoft, it'll tell me a code that I'll enter in after I enter my password, so let me have access. Whereas this one down here, it'll show me an option to send an email or an SMS message, say a text message. Okay, so again, these aren't new, but this is where you would set that up. And the new thing we have is that if you have SMS enabled, so text messaging, you can now bring your own license, your own Vonage license. So instead of paying Smart Simple for the service, you can have your own account with Vonage, and you can put your own integration key in, and then you can kind of manage that account and that service on your own for sending those text messages. The one thing to note is that someone from Smart Simple does have to turn on this service for you at the beginning, but then once we've turned it on, you can manage that relationship going forward by putting in your own integration key. All right. Next thing I want to show you is this is a notification icon up here. So, this notification icon, it's used for things like, your password is going to expire. You can use notification broadcast to send messages to people in the system based on their roles, or, we're having some type of major event you want to make everyone aware of. We also, in this upgrade, allowed you to send messages via this through workflow. So you'd imagine, for example, let's say I put a record into needing a review. Normally I'd send an email to someone, but if you wanted, you could send a notification instead, or maybe in addition to. So I'll show you how that works. So I've got this record here, and just for the sake of showing you, I'm going to switch it. I'm going to submit this record. And what that's done is I've set it up a workflow that's going to then trigger this notification. So again, just to save time, I'm just going to reload my browser, and then you can see here's my notification. So, basically I move something to a different status, I have a workflow that fires, and then I can notify someone that something needs their attention. And if you want to see how I set up that workflow, well, I'll just do that real quick. I'll show you where the workflow is as well, how I did that. So here's my notification workflow. So basically my UTA was the submission manager. I'm triggering when it hits the submitted status, I'm triggering a workflow. And my task is very simple here. It's an acknowledgement task. And with the message template, I pick the new option, system notification, which then gives me a message up there. So, and of course, anytime I can come back to this message, I can read it, I can go and view all the other ones and say, oh, here's all the things that people have asked me to do, or the notifications I'm waiting on. So again, it's another supplementary way of notifying people in case emails get lost. You still have it here another way. A few more items before I open up the question and answer. I'm almost there though. One thing I wanted to highlight, it's not part of the upgrade per se, but it is a change that happened recently, so I really want to make sure everyone's aware of it. Our object email. So what object email is, this is an email which allows you to email the grant itself. So you can put this on the CC of your email conversations back and forth about this application, and it'll save those as level 2s or activities associated with that application. So we've always had that ability here. But what we added in this upgrade, or what we changed in this upgrade, is the domain changed. So where we're sending these emails from has changed. It is now smartsimple.cloud.com. Now, you shouldn't have to change any configuration in your system, but if you have emails in flight or you're responding to a thread that's already been going, if you don't add the cloud here in your email browser, so it says smartsimple.cloud, it won't be delivered. You'll probably get a bounce back. So just note, any new ones going through will be fine as long as it has this domain. If you've got an old email thread where people are responding, you may have to just change that domain on the CC of it to the right one, and then that way it'll go through and still keep saving. So just be aware. You don't have to change you don't have to change, the from address for the system or any of the other email things. It's just pertaining to this object email feature. And that went live October 24th. So again, it's not tied to the upgrade. It was a change that's happened, but I wanted to highlight it. Again, back to performance, I just want to show you, we added a new option for autoloaders, report exports, API update processes to make those processes happen faster for you. So I'm just going to show you right now. I'll show you with the reports. So here I've got a report, but again, this affects also the autoloaders and the API updates. So if I go to the export scheduled export, and I come down here, you can see there's a new option, run triggered workflow asynchronously to improve performance. So if I turn this on and I'm running workflows when I run this report export, what it's going to do is, instead of running sequentially where it's going to, I'm going to run the first record, then the second record, then the third record, and let you sit there. What it's going to do is it's going to put all those triggered workflows into a queue, and then it'll separate them into separate threads. So, thread 1 will do 100 and it'll start working on those, while thread 2 does 100, so it's working on those. So it won't run them synchronously or in sequence, but it will run them all and run them all faster that way. So you're not sitting there waiting so long, and it does it in a queue. So again, if this is something that's might be interested in, feel free to turn those on in those 3 locations. One last thing, I guess I'm going to show you the autoloader anyway. So here I've got an autoloader, and there's a new option here, delete process source data files upon autoloader completion. So again here, so what happens is maybe you're using an autoloader to bring in an HR file or something, and you've encrypted that file. And then as part of the processing, you're decrypting that file because it's sensitive data with people's PII in it. So you've uploaded an encrypted file, we're decrypting that file, then we're processing that file, and then those changes are done. When it's done, even though if you set it up right, only certain people, maybe your system administrator, should have access to that folder, but just to be safe, you can now turn this on, and you can delete not only the decrypted file, but the encrypted file, just to make sure there's no chance of anyone getting access to it after it's been sent. So again, that's a new option. I won't show you each of these just because they're, I want to go to questions. But if you are using SSO with a key store certificate, you can now set up reminders. I can get into this. If people want to know about the from address, I can talk to more to that. I'll just show this last one here with the profile. So if I come back in here to my profile, so let's say I want to see when I logged in last. Again, I can go to logs here, and I can go to my login history and I can see it. So here in the message queue, we've changed it so it's showing 90 days. Now we're going to add an archive tab here eventually, and you can also report on this to pull this data, but we're showing 90 days there. Again, it makes it happen really fast and much more improved. And really the rest of it's more for administrators, which I can go into if people are interested. But I'm going to open up the floor to questions at this point.
Great, thank you, Mark. First question is, when might the media library functionality in multi-upload field support documents?
So you want to see in the media library right now, it does. So we're talking about media library. Right now, it does supports video, audio, and images. Currently, it does not support documents like you want to see a preview of of text documents or Word documents or things like that. We do have a plan for doing that. I don't have a date for you at this point, but it is something that we are going to, we're planning on addressing at some point in the future, but there's not a set date for it yet.
Great, thank you. The next one is there a way to duplicate a current tab view onto a new tab?
Oh, so you're talking about in tab bar, I assume?
I think so.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, before I answer that one, I'm just going to add an extra comment. I'm just making a note for myself here. For Word document preview in Media Library. Yeah, okay, cool. All right. Yeah, I was just going to say, it'll either be in Media Library or it may even be an option in the multi-file upload. Again, we're gonna work on that at some point, and then we'll get back to you about a date of when we expect that in the product roadmap. So back to the question at hand, that was the tab. So you want to duplicate this. Unfortunately, right now there's no way of duplicating that, but that's a really good suggestion that at least that I'm aware of. You have to press here to create new, and then you'd have to go navigate to the thing that you want. However, adding a way of copying it, I guess, and navigating away from there might be very helpful. Hopefully that answers the question. If not, just maybe clarify the question again and let me know. I'll try a second time.
Okay, wonderful. Can you please show where to set the order of the columns in the dropdown for search? Is this possible, or is it based on the column order in the list view being used?
Great question. So yeah, so right now the column order is based on the order that these columns are here. So if I go into this list view, for example, in my list view builder, here are the columns. So my first column is application name, then type, then status, etc. So this is where we defined. Like I said, we plan to add the ability to pick which one you want as the default, but it would start with whatever is in position 1. So that's what would show up in the dropdown. Is it would be based on the position it shows from left to right.
Okay, it looks like we have one more.
Yep.
You shared the configuration view of the buttons to update addresses on that application.
Sure. So let me go through this. So again, this one is basically I'm launching my organization profile here, and I'm doing it through a button. It's a brand new button. So if I come down here, the button type is called special button. I just gave it the name of open organization, and then I picked this, but I can put I can remove this out and put any data I want in there, any type of link I want. And then this is the open in. So this is, do I want the main window, the modal window, or the new tab? Again, here, if I come to the lookup, we've done a whole bunch of areas that you might want to, I want to open up a report. I want to, open up a specific UTA. So if I wanted to, I could say, I want to open up a UTA, and maybe I wanted to create a new grant from here, from this button, or something else. So there's a whole bunch of things that you can try in here. If you want, and it'll populate those links for you. But like I said, if you know how to craft these links, or you want other areas of the system, you can also just manually put those links into that other functionality. And down here is the confirmation message. So if you want a confirmation message, this is where you would type it. Thank you, Lisa. I love the new special button too. It's really helpful to change the to be able to launch these things from anywhere in line, because sometimes it can be confusing to come up here and things are hidden under these menus, and you just want to see it at a specific spot in your process, and we get it.
Okay, then we have, what is the syntax for creating custom lookup?
Syntax for creating a custom lookup. I'm not sure if I understand the question totally. If you're talking about, you want to surface like the contacts tab in here, we usually do that with what's called a linked record list, if that's what you're asking. I might need you to clarify, but I'll show you that anyway. So let's say I didn't want someone to click on this left bar here to see contacts. Instead, I want to do it this way. So what I can do is this is actually a linked record list here. And instead of clicking there, I can do it inline. And we've actually got a revision coming to this very soon. It's not ready yet, but I can go in here and type, I don't know, my name or someone's name, I can add myself as a co-applicant to this, and boom, I'm associated with this. Again, I'm not sure if that's exactly what you're asking, but let me just highlight this feature anyway in case it is. So this is called the special linked record list, and it allows me to do all sorts of things. For here, I said I want to surface the context, so I wanted to add context in line instead of having to go to that left navigation. But I could also do that for organizations. I can do that for activities. I can do that for invitations. I can even do it for notes. So I can kind of surface those kind of related elements to the application and then surface them in line right here, put them in a tab wherever you want. So hopefully that's what it is. Otherwise, you have to ask the question again in a different way.
There's an update from them, the topic related to the dynamic drop-down field.
Mhm. Sorry, so what was the question on that one?
So that's from the original question, a clarification, just saying the topic related to the dynamic drop-down field.
Oh, so the dynamic drop-down field. It's the custom lookup. What you do is it's a select one drop-down list. You toggle this on enable dynamic content and you say use custom lookup options. Now, what I did, and I'll show you right from how I more of the process and hope so that this answers it. So I'm on global settings system. If I come down here to custom lookup options, I showed you how it looks like after it's been imported, but let me just show you with a little more detail here. So I've got the actual comma separated values that I uploaded. So this was what my comma separated values sheet looked like in Excel. So you can see where my predefined options are. Was right here like this. So I gave my title, and then I just mapped these to the desired fields. So if I just for fun, if I went in here, I say file to upload. Let me grab something from my desktop here. Cars lookup, and I say choose the file, and then this is where I would map it out. So map out my files to where I want those to be. So inactive is going to be my inactive, or one being inactive. I think I called it car brand, but that's what I put in here. Lookup key, and then I would go next. So that's how I do that mapping for that. Typically on your lookups, if you've never seen it before, let me see, I bet I have a lookup in here somewhere I can show people. Let's see which one I got. Like age range. So typically the way you would do it with predefined options is something like this, where you set if values with a semicolon. And actually, a lot of times what you would do is actually put a value. I forget if it's in front or not, but it'd be like 1 equals something or whatever. So that's how that typically works. Hopefully I've answered that question.
Then we have, can the special button be placed on the footer? Can it be used in a list view?
I don't know if I haven't tried it in the list view. We can try right now. Let me just see. So I go to list view and let me try and add it to a column here. I suspect I won't be able to, but let's see. Special. No, you can't add the button to the list views right now. So that's not available. What was the second part of the question? No, footer. No, I
On
think
on the footer.
no. I believe the browser script button allowed you to do that, but this one does not. That would be a suggestion for an enhancement to stick it into the footer. What they're referring to there is having it show up down here, I believe, with the submit buttons. And the browser script does allow that, the browser script button, but the problem with the browser script button is that, let me just open one of those up right now, show you. So if I come in here to grant, what we're talking about now is the special browser script. See if I can find it. Maybe I missed it. There's special browser script. So special browser script, you have different things, and I believe you have an option to have it show up. Yeah, show in the button footer. So that's what they're looking for, is to be able to show up there. No, but I think that's a good suggestion that we could look at adding. Uh, if people are interested in it. So again, the browser script, it kind of works the same way. Let's say on demand, I can make a button and I can place that button. The problem with this one is you can't really pick how you want that to open, whereas the other one is a little simpler, and you can choose, do I want to open it in a modal window, or something like that. So I'm going to just write that one down again. That was open submit bar. All right.
I've got two questions about dates. The first one, is there a target date when the new rich text editor becomes mandatory? If we had an old rich text field, would anything happen to the data in that field, especially if it had HTML tags in there?
Yes. Okay. Good question. So again, rich text editor right now, it's an opt-in. I don't know if I showed you where to opt in. I don't think I did I? So here on global settings system, if I come down here, enable rich text editor to enhance security. So again, that's why we're doing it. We're doing it because it's more secure than the old one. So you have to turn it on right now. It may come in the February release. I think that's what we're targeting now, but you'll have to stay tuned to see. Now it does, as our client here has pointed out, it does strip out the HTML tags. Now that shouldn't be a problem, because in theory you shouldn't have multiple HTML tags. You shouldn't have HTML tags in this. It will add the HTML tags if it's an email anyway. You can see the source here, as I said, if it come up. But yeah, it will strip out the HTML tags. So any content in those HTML tags may also be stripped out. I don't anticipate that'll be a problem, but if it is a problem, please reach out to support, let us know your comments, and we can investigate it further. The other thing it will do as well, let me just full disclosure here, because you really shouldn't have multiple HTML tags on the page anyway, because the way this renders, it would render on the page in view mode, and you'd have another set of HTML tags. So, I do believe it's a good thing that it's removing those. The other things it removes is, well, any scripts will be removed, but again, that's probably a good thing for security. And the body tags will be removed, because again, those are going to be added automatically by the system. The page already has a body tag. You shouldn't have multiple body tags showing up in the system. So yes, those things will be removed. The HTML tag, the header tag, the script tag, and the body tag will be removed with the new rich text editor. But do reach out to us if this is going to pose a problem for you, and let us know. That's a support, and then we can look into it in your specific example, because we probably really need to see a specific example to understand if there's something we have to change here.
Great. And then I think we just have two more. The first one, for the dynamic dropdown, what is the advantage of doing the dynamic dropdown versus predefined options?
All right. So, I mean, typically I would always use the predefined options. It's more that, let's say I've got external data from another system and I want to bring that in. So, and that data is going to change a lot. So instead of me manually typing it in here, I can just import that CSV on a regular basis. So like I said, maybe I don't know, if you're picking from a course selection guide or something, and the course has changed quarterly, instead of going in and change the predefined options in the system, excuse me, I could just import a CSV with whatever the new courses are, and it'll just update that list. Keeping in mind that anything that's removed, you don't want to actually remove it. You want to start giving it the inactive one instead, so that you retain what's been chosen in the past. So yeah, it's totally optional, but it's another methodology you can use for populating those dropdowns.
Okay, great. And then we have, will variables or list syntax be impacted if used in the RTF fields?
Yeah, that's another good question. So I was able to put some SS logic in there and variables, and I didn't see any change. So I don't think that it's going to have any effect on those. Again, if you have some type of specific scenario that you find and it does strip something out, please reach out to support so we can investigate the very specifics of it. But general SS logic and variables, we've put them in there, and it's not stripped out. It seems fine. So again, it's not a guarantee, but we haven't seen that in any of our testing. We haven't seen any get stripped out.
Okay, great. And then I think our final one is just a refresher. When will this update roll out exactly?
Oh, perfect. So let's go back into the wiki. All right. So it depends on your hosting arrangement. So if you're in North America and you're on one of the shared servers, it's probably November 14th. If you are managed dedicated or international, it'll probably be on the 28th. And depending, some people also do it on demand. So again, it really depends on where you are and your managed or how you're hosted as to when you'll receive it. But typically, North America is here. Managed dedicated internationals is the 28th.
Fantastic. It looks like that's all the questions we have.
Great. Well, thank you again for spending your time with us. I know your time is very busy and we really appreciate it. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. And this will be shared with you, right, Sinead?
It will, yes. Thank you all for joining us. It was great to have you. With that, I'll let you all go. Thank you.